Ronnie Harris is with them in the backfield. They want to throw. Bad idea. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson says, welcome to the swamp.
Luke Gidman back in the ZoneCoverage.com studios with my guy Sam Ekstrom, wrapping out our top 5 for the 2019 NFL Draft with the safety class. And there is quite a mixed grab bag of athletes, youth, and talent
big time
in this group. Started out, my number 1 guy, Charles Gardner-Johnson. I know he's not on your list. You loved him as a nickel corner. Check out our cornerback videos. I love him as a safety. Yes, why I love him is because of his versatility. Can get in the box, sniff in there and run support. Great nickel cornerback. And I'm telling you, in today's day and age, Sam, in a pass-happy league, the guys that can do the most, offer the most versatility and line up and play really good in multiple spots, like Gardner-Johnson from Florida. Those are the guys that I think are going to be valued by teams, maybe higher than the public. I think Seattle Seahawks at 21 is a serious potential landing spot for Gardner-Johnson.
And here's another guy, my number 1, who could be viewed as a corner or a safety. Virginia certainly thought of him as a corner early in his career, then moved him back where he thrived. He's my number 1, Juan Thornhill. You had Anthony Harris on the draft wrap and talked to Harris about him. He loves him, and I think a lot of America does too. One of the best combine performers. He was one of the fastest, jumped the highest. He's strong, ball hawk, productive. Juan Thornhill. You've got him 4, I've got him 1. I like the splashiness of the Cavalier, who's probably pretty happy about the basketball result at US Bank Stadium on Monday.
Yeah, you mentioned I talked to Anthony Harris, raved about Thornhill. I think the big thing, if this was our potential alone, I'd be right with you. Thornhill will be my number 1. 44-inch vert. Remember, he was a superstar basketball player in high school. In fact, he ended up on SportsCenter top 10 before with some monster dunks. Look it up. Juan Thornhill, great broad jump, long, lanky. You mentioned he started at corner. I wouldn't be surprised. With 13 interceptions over his career, nobody had more interceptions, kind of like Anthony Harris coming out. Nobody had more interceptions than this guy. I wouldn't be surprised if some team loved his length, fluidity, and athleticism so much with his ball hawking skills, they moved him back to cornerback and started him there. Nonetheless, Juan Thornhill, a lot to work with. How about our number 2 from Delaware?
Nasir Adderley, FCS baller, a blue hen, Joe Flacco's alma mater. 11 interceptions over the past 2 years. He's athletic. He stood out at the Senior Bowl, obviously, and people will say, well, the level of competition wouldn't have been that high. And this is, again, a boom or bust case where you have to look at the tape and say, okay, he obviously shows it on tape. He shows it physically. He has the measurables. Let's take a shot on him.
You know, the small school always scares me a little bit. If it wasn't for the small school stature, he would be a clear-cut, not only number 1 safety, but he'd probably be a top 12, top 15 pick. No doubt about it. We got burned long ago as Vikings fans in 2008 when we drafted Tyrell Johnson out of Arkansas State. I think Rick Spielman was burned by that small school stature. It's just something to think about. Adderley, though, I see no qualms about him coming into the league and being, again, one of the top safeties from this class. Savage. His name's literally Savage. This guy is a missile. Flies around, maybe a little bit more of a box safety, but he makes plays in, at, and around the line of scrimmage. This guy, Darnell Savage from Maryland, Stephon Diggs' alma mater. This is my number 3 safety. I love, again, what he brings to the table physically and sets the tone for your defense.
I'll put Taylor Rapp in the mix from Washington, Pac-12 pedigree. Rapp, just solid across the board, maybe more of a center field safety, good speed, decent production, had a good freshman year at Washington. But Deontay Thompson, number 4, he's got the big Alabama resume. Deontay Thompson, what do you think of him?
Well, I love Deontay Thompson, and you won't see him on my list because he really kind of fizzed out the last 4 or 5 games. And maybe I'm being too hard on him because when you look at his body of work, this guy made some plays in center field that I don't think even some NFL safeties can do. So he's got some big-time potential. Why did he fizz out during the championship run, the playoff run for Alabama? I'm not sure, but his body of work suggests he can be a big-time baller in the NFL, coming from a long line of successful safeties coming from Alabama, specifically the past 2-3 years. So remember that name. I'm going again. Savage, mentioned Thornhill. Amani Hooker from Iowa. When you're talking about guys who can do a little bit of everything, which you have to do as a safety now, Anthony Harris talked about it, you got to find balance between run support and pass coverage. Nobody had a higher grade, only one person in the entire secondary, in the entire nation, had a higher coverage grade than Amani Hooker. I really like him, what he brings to the table in this pass-happy league. And I've heard some rumors that the Vikings love him as well.
Ooh, little nugget for you. Jonathan Abram rounds out my list. He's like the Montez Sweat of the safety list. Went to a big name school, Florida, switched within the SEC, went to Mississippi State, got in the right defensive scheme, and took off. His last 2 years, 2017, 2018, more and more productive. He's my number 5 guy.
Real quick, don't have Taylor Rapp on my list. I'll just mention as well, I think he's more of an in-the-box kind of safety, but he only missed 2 tackles the entire year. There might not be a better tackler in this whole group than Taylor Rapp. If you need a in-the-box type of safety, if you already have a great center fielder like Malik Hooker in Indianapolis and you need to complement him with an in-the-box type of safety, I really like Taylor Rapp. What a great, fun little group of secondary safety players. Just depends on what flavor you need. Check back for all of our top 5 specific individual positional rankings on zonecoverage.com.